Be prepared. Tomorrow changes everything. And I need you to understand something right now. The universe doesn't send warnings because it wants to scare you. It sends warnings because it's trying to protect you from walking straight into something that could derail your entire path. And tomorrow, March 14th, 3 very specific cosmic warnings are being delivered directly to you, whether you're paying attention or not. Here's what most people don't realize. The universe has been trying to get your attention for weeks now. Maybe you've been seeing repeating numbers everywhere. 111, 444, 555, showing up on clocks, receipts, license plates. Maybe you've had the same dream multiple times, or you keep running into the same person in random places. Maybe there's been this persistent feeling in your gut, this nagging sense that something isn't right, but you keep dismissing it as anxiety or stress. That's not anxiety. That's the universe screaming at you. And tomorrow, those whispers become shouts. Because on March 14th, the cosmic architecture shifts in a way that makes these warnings impossible to ignore. And if you've been feeling this building pressure, like something massive is about to break open, there's a very specific reason why. I'll explain exactly what that sensation means later in this video, so stay with me. But first, you need to understand what's been building up to this moment, because tomorrow's warnings aren't random. They're the culmination of everything that's been shifting since the beginning of March. And when I started connecting these dots, when I saw how perfectly timed everything is, it completely changed how I'm approaching the rest of this month. The cosmic pressure has been building since March began. Let's talk about what's already happened this month, because I think you felt it. On March 3rd, we had that total lunar eclipse in Virgo. And if that eclipse felt like it completely dismantled your life, like it ruthlessly exposed every flaw in your systems, every crack in your foundation, every place where you've been lying to yourself, you're not imagining it. That eclipse was the cosmic audit. It came through and checked every single area of your life, your work, your health, your daily routines, your relationships, and it asked one brutal question. Is this actually working? Or are you just pretending it is? And for most people, the answer was uncomfortable. The Virgo eclipse forced us to see where we've been grinding ourselves into dust without actually making progress, where we've been so obsessed with perfection that we've paralyzed ourselves, where we've been serving everyone else while completely neglecting our own needs. And here's what I really need you to understand. That eclipse wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Because the warnings coming tomorrow, they're about course correction. And you can't correct your course if you don't first acknowledge that you're off track. Does that make sense? The eclipse stripped away the illusions. It showed you the truth. And now, tomorrow, the universe is giving you very specific instructions about what to do with that truth. Then, just 2 days ago on March 11th, Jupiter stationed direct in Cancer after being retrograde since November. And if you felt a sudden shift on that day, like something that had been stuck for months suddenly started moving again, that's because it did. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, growth, luck, and abundance. When it's retrograde, all that expansive energy turns inward. You're growing, but it's invisible. You're building, but nobody can see it yet. But when Jupiter's direct, it's like opening the floodgates. All that internal work, all that invisible progress, it suddenly becomes visible in the external world. Opportunities that were blocked start flowing. Money that was delayed starts moving. Relationships that were stagnant suddenly have momentum again. And I think a lot of people felt that shift immediately. Things that seemed impossible on March 10th suddenly felt inevitable on March 11th. But here's where it gets interesting. Jupiter going direct doesn't just bring blessings. It also brings consequences. Because Jupiter amplifies everything it touches. If you've been building something solid during the retrograde, Jupiter direct expands it massively. But if you've been avoiding responsibility, cutting corners, or living in denial, Jupiter Direct expands that too. It makes the problems bigger, more obvious, impossible to ignore. And that's where tomorrow's warnings come in. Because the universe is giving you one last chance to adjust before Jupiter's expansion really kicks into high gear. Think of it like this. You're about to get on a rocket ship. Jupiter Direct is the ignition. But before you launch, the universe is doing a final systems check. And tomorrow, March 14th, is when the warning lights start flashing if something's not right. The first warning is about your foundation, and it's urgent. Here's the first cosmic warning the universe is sending tomorrow. And honestly, this is the one I think most people are going to miss because it's subtle. It's not dramatic. It's not obvious. But it's the most important one. Tomorrow, the moon is in Capricorn, and it's forming a very specific aspect to Saturn in Aries. And what this creates is a tension between your foundation and your ambition, between what you've built and where you're trying to go, between the structures that support you and the new path you're trying to forge. Here's what the universe is warning you about. Your foundation is cracked, and you've been ignoring it because you're so focused on moving forward, on achieving the next goal, on proving yourself, on keeping up with everyone else. But the universe is saying, stop, look down, check the ground you're standing on, because if you keep building on a cracked foundation, everything you're working toward is going to collapse. Let me be really specific about what this looks like in real life. Maybe you've been pushing yourself so hard at work that you're completely burned out, but you keep telling yourself you'll rest later. After this project, after this promotions, after you prove yourself. That's a cracked foundation. Your health, your energy, your nervous system, they're the foundation. And if they collapse, your career collapses with them. Or maybe you're in a relationship that's been showing you red flags for months, but you keep ignoring them because you're so invested, because you don't want to start over, because you're afraid of being alone. That's a cracked foundation. Your emotional security, your self-respect, your boundaries, they're the foundation. And if you keep building a future with someone who doesn't respect those things, that future will crumble. Or maybe you've been spending money you don't have, living beyond your means, telling yourself it'll all work out somehow. That's a cracked foundation. Your financial stability, your savings, your ability to weather unexpected storms, they're the foundation. And if you keep ignoring the cracks, one unexpected expense will bring the whole thing down. The universe is warning you tomorrow because Saturn, the planet of consequences and reality checks, is involved. Saturn doesn't play games. It doesn't give you infinite chances. When Saturn sends a warning, you listen, or you learn the hard way. And with the moon in Capricorn amplifying Saturn's energy, tomorrow is the day that warning becomes crystal clear. Here's what you need to do. Stop moving forward for one day. Just one day. Tomorrow, March 14th. Pause. Look at your life honestly. Ask yourself, where am I building on a cracked foundation? Where am I ignoring problems because I'm too afraid or too proud to face them? Where am I pretending everything is fine when I know it's not? And this is the hard part, you have to be willing to do the repair work, even if it means slowing down, even if it means disappointing people, even if it means admitting you were wrong. Because here's the truth, fixing a crack in your foundation now takes time and effort, but it's nothing compared to rebuilding your entire life from scratch after everything collapses. The universe is giving you this warning tomorrow because it loves you, because it sees where you're headed, and it's trying to save you from a disaster you can't even see coming yet. Don't ignore this one, please. The second warning is about your relationships, and it's brutal. The second cosmic warning coming tomorrow is going to hit different, and honestly, I think this is the one that's going to hurt the most for a lot of people. Because this warning is about the people in your life. And specifically, it's about the people who are draining you, using you, or holding you back. And you've been too loyal, too kind, or too afraid to do anything about it. Tomorrow, Venus in Pisces forms a challenging aspect to the nodes of fate. And when Venus, the planet of relationships and values, connects with the nodes, which represent your destiny and karmic path, the universe is basically asking you one question. Are the people in your life supporting your destiny? Or are they blocking it? And here's where this gets uncomfortable, because most of us have at least one person in our life, maybe more, who we know isn't good for us. We know they take more than they give. We know they drain our energy. We know they don't really support our dreams. But we keep them around anyway because we feel guilty, because we have history with them, because we're afraid of conflict, because we don't want to be the bad guy. The universe is warning you tomorrow that this loyalty is costing you your future. Let me paint a picture of what this looks like. Maybe you have a friend who only calls when they need something, when they're in crisis, when they need money, when they need emotional support. But when you're struggling, they're nowhere to be found. They don't ask how you're doing. They don't show up for you. The relationship is completely one-sided. Or maybe you're in a romantic relationship with someone who says they love you, but their actions tell a different story. They don't prioritize you. They don't make time for you. They don't support your goals. They criticize your dreams. They make you feel small. But you stay because you're afraid of being alone, or because you've invested so much time already, or because you keep hoping they'll change. Or maybe it's a family member who constantly guilt trips you, manipulates you, butts you, makes you feel responsible for their happiness, and you keep sacrificing your own peace, your own boundaries, your own life, because you feel obligated, because they're family, because you're supposed to. Here's what the universe is warning you about tomorrow. These people are not just neutral presences in your life. They're actively blocking your destiny. Every hour you spend managing their dream, their drama, is an hour you're not spending building your future. Every bit of energy you pour into a one-sided relationship is energy you're stealing from yourself. Every time you compromise your boundaries to keep the peace, you're teaching the universe that you don't value yourself. And Venus in Pisces makes this even more dangerous because Pisces energy is so compassionate, so empathetic, so willing to sacrifice. Pisces wants to save everyone. Pisces wants to believe the best in people. Pisces wants to give infinite chances. But tomorrow, with the nodes involved, the universe is saying, your compassion is being weaponized against you. Your kindness is being exploited. And if you don't set boundaries now, these relationships will drain you so completely that you won't have anything left for your actual purpose. This is the warning. The people who are meant to be in your life will support your growth. They will celebrate your wins. They will show up when you need them. They will respect your boundaries. They will add to your life, not subtract from it. And the people who don't do those things, no matter how much history you have, no matter how much you care about them, they are not aligned with your destiny. Tomorrow is the day the universe is asking you to make a choice. Your loyalty to people who don't deserve it, or your commitment to your own future. And I know that sounds harsh. I know it feels cruel to even think about cutting people off. But here's what I've learned. The universe will remove people from your life one way or another. Either you make the conscious choice to create boundaries and distance yourself from what's not serving you, or life will force the separation in a much more painful way. Tomorrow's warning is giving you the chance to do this consciously, with intention, with grace. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to burn bridges. But you do have to be honest about who deserves access to your energy, and you have to be willing to protect your peace, even if it disappoints people. Because here's the truth. The right people, the ones who are truly meant to walk this path with you, they're waiting. But they can't enter your life while you're still giving all your energy to the wrong ones. The universe is clearing space. And tomorrow's warning is your invitation to participate in that clearing, instead of resisting it. The third warning is about your purpose, and it's the one you've been avoiding. Now here's the third cosmic warning. And honestly, this is the one that's going to shake you to your core if you're really paying attention. Because this warning isn't about external things. It's not about your foundation or your relationships. This warning is about you. About the truth you've been running from. About the calling you've been ignoring. About the purpose you know you're meant to fulfill, but you keep making excuses for why now isn't the right time. Tomorrow, Mercury in Pisces forms a conjunction with Neptune. And when the planet of communication merges with the planet of dreams, illusions, and spiritual truth, the veil between what you tell yourself and what you actually know becomes paper thin. And the universe is going to whisper something to you tomorrow that you've been pretending not to hear for months, maybe even years. You know what you're supposed to be doing with your life. You know it, deep down. In that quiet place you only visit at 3 in the morning when you can't sleep. You know exactly what you're meant to create, who you're meant to become, what you're meant to contribute to this world. But you've been ignoring it because it's scary, because it's risky, because it doesn't make logical sense, because the people around you wouldn't understand, because you're not ready, because you don't have enough money, enough time, enough credentials, enough confidence. Let me tell you what this looks like in real life, because I think you're going to see yourself in at least one of these examples. Maybe you've always known you're meant to be a writer, but you've convinced yourself it's not practical, so you stay in a job that pays the bills but slowly kills your soul. And you tell yourself you'll write on the weekends, but the weekends come and you're too exhausted, too drained, too disconnected from that creative spark. And years pass, and the book never gets written. And that voice inside you that used to scream about your purpose now barely whispers, because you've ignored it for so long. Or maybe you know you're meant to help people, to heal, to teach, to guide. You feel it every time someone comes to you with their problems, and you know exactly what to say. You feel it when you give advice and watch someone's entire face light up because you just shifted their perspective. But you've convinced yourself you need more training, more certifications, more proof that you're qualified. So you keep taking courses, keep reading books, keep preparing, but you never actually start. Because as long as you're preparing, you don't have to face the fear of actually putting yourself out there. Or maybe you know you're meant to build something, to create a business, to innovate, to disrupt an industry. You have ideas that keep you up at night. You see solutions to problems that everyone else accepts as unchangeable. But you've convinced yourself the timing isn't right. The market isn't ready. You don't have enough capital. You need to wait until your kids are older, until you have more savings, until the economy stabilizes, until you feel more confident. And meanwhile, someone else with half your vision and twice your audacity is out there building the exact thing you dreamed about. Here's what the universe is warning you about tomorrow. Time is running out. Not in a morbid way, not in a fear-based way, but in a very real, very urgent way. Because every day you ignore your purpose is a day you can't get back. Every year you spend living someone else's version of your life is a year stolen from your actual destiny. And the universe has been patient. It's been sending you signs, synchronicities, opportunities, people who could help you, moments of inspiration. But you keep dismissing them. You keep choosing safety over purpose. You keep choosing comfort over calling. And tomorrow, with Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces, the universe is going to make this warning impossible to ignore. You're going to feel it in your body. That ache in your chest, that restlessness in your bones, that voice in your head that says, "This isn't it. This isn't what I'm meant to be doing. There's something more to Stumaba, something bigger, something that actually matters." And you can keep ignoring it. You can keep making excuses. You can keep waiting for the perfect moment that will never come. Or you can finally listen. Because here's what I've learned about purpose. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It doesn't wait for you to have all the answers. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Purpose is like a train that's leaving the station, and you can either get on or watch it leave without you. And the universe is warning you tomorrow because that train is about to depart. The window is closing. The opportunity is narrowing. And if you don't act soon, you're going to spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds dramatic. This sounds like pressure. This sounds like fear-mongering. But I need you to understand something. The universe doesn't send warnings to scare you into action. It sends warnings because it sees something you can't see yet. It sees the version of you that's living your purpose, creating your art, building your empire, healing your people, changing your corner of the world. And it sees the gap between that version and where you are right now. And it's trying to close that gap before it becomes a chasm. Tomorrow's warning is an invitation. It's the universe saying, I see you. I know what you're capable of. I know what you're meant to do. And I'm giving you one more chance to step into it before the cosmic momentum shifts and the opportunity passes. This isn't about guilt. This isn't about shame. This is about alignment. This is about integrity. This is about looking yourself in the mirror and asking, am I living the life I'm meant to live? Or am I living the life I settled for? And here's the beautiful part. If you listen to this warning, if you actually take action on what you know you're meant to do, everything else falls into place. The foundation you were worried about in the first warning. It stabilizes because you're finally building on truth instead of lies. The relationships you were concerned about in the second warning, they either align with your purpose or they naturally fall away, making room for the people who are meant to support your mission. Your entire life reorganizes itself around your purpose once you commit to it. But you have to commit. You have to take the first step. You have to stop waiting for permission, for perfect timing, for absolute certainty. Because those things never come. Purpose requires faith. It requires courage. It requires you to move before you're ready, to start before you know how it ends, to trust that the universe will support you once you prove you're serious. Tomorrow is that proof. Tomorrow is your chance to show the universe, and more importantly yourself, that you're done playing small, that you're done hiding, that you're done making excuses, that you're ready to step into the life you were actually meant to live, even if it's terrifying, even if it's uncertain, even if everyone around you thinks you're crazy. Why these three warnings are connected, and what happens if you ignore them. Now here's what most people miss about cosmic warnings. They're not separate, isolated events. They're interconnected. They're part of a larger pattern. And the three warnings coming tomorrow, they're actually three parts of the same message. Let me show you how they connect. The first warning about your foundation. That's about your internal structure, your health, your habits, your daily routines, your emotional stability. That's the ground floor. The second warning about your relationships. That's about your external support system. The people who either lift you up or drag you down. That's the framework. And the third warning about your purpose. That's about your direction, where you're actually going with all of this. That's the blueprint. And here's why this matters. You can't build a meaningful life, a purposeful life, a life that actually matters, if any of these three elements is broken. If your foundation is cracked, you'll collapse under the weight of your own ambition. If your relationships are toxic, they'll sabotage every step forward you try to take. And if you're not aligned with your purpose, none of it means anything anyway. You'll achieve success that feels empty. You'll reach goals that don't fulfill you. You'll build a life that looks good on paper, but feels hollow in your soul. The universe is sending all three warnings tomorrow because it's trying to help you see the whole picture. It's not enough to fix just one area. You need all three. You need a solid foundation, supportive relationships, and clear purpose. And tomorrow is the day the universe is showing you exactly where each of these areas needs attention in your life. Now let me tell you what happens if you ignore these warnings, because I think this is important. The universe doesn't punish you for ignoring warnings. It doesn't strike you down with lightning or curse you with bad luck. What happens is much more subtle and much more devastating. You just keep going. You keep building on that cracked foundation until one day it gives out completely. You keep investing in those toxic relationships until they drain you so completely you have nothing left. You keep ignoring your purpose until the voice inside you that used to scream about your calling goes completely silent. And then one day, maybe 5 years from now, maybe 10, you wake up and realize you've built an entire life that isn't yours. You're living someone else's dream. You're following someone else's path. You're playing a role that was never meant for you. And the worst part is, you can't even remember when you made the choice to settle. Because you didn't make one big choice. You made 1,000 small choices. Every time you ignored a warning. Every time you chose comfort over growth. Every time you told yourself later. Not now. Someday. I've seen this happen to so many people. They ignore the warnings in their 20s because they're too busy trying to figure things out. They ignore them in their 30s because they're too busy building their careers. They ignore them in their 40s because they have too many responsibilities. And then they hit 50, and they look back and realize they spent their entire life preparing to live instead of actually living. They spent decades building a foundation for a house they never moved into. They spent years maintaining relationships that never fed their soul. They spent their whole life ignoring the one thing they were actually meant to do. And here's the tragedy. It's not that they failed. It's that they never tried. They never gave themselves permission to pursue what they actually wanted. They never took the risk. They never listened to the warnings. They just kept going through the motions, hoping that someday, somehow, things would magically align. But things don't magically align. You have to align them. You have to make the hard choices. You have to listen to the warnings and actually do something about them. Tomorrow is your chance. Tomorrow is the universe giving you a clear, undeniable message about what needs to change. And you can listen, or you can ignore it. But I'm telling you right now, if you ignore it, you're going to regret it. Not immediately. Not tomorrow or next week, or even next month. But eventually, when you're lying in bed at night and your head asks, what if I had listened? What if I had been brave enough to make the change? What if I had trusted myself? That's when the regret hits. And by then, it's so much harder to course correct. The cosmic timing is not accidental, and here's what you need to do. Let me tell you why tomorrow specifically matters so much. Why March 14th is the day these warnings are coming through with such intensity. It's not random. The universe doesn't operate on random timing. Everything is orchestrated with precision that would blow your mind if you could see the full picture. We're in the middle of eclipse season. That Virgo eclipse on March 3rd opened a portal, a window of accelerated change and transformation. And that portal stays open until the next eclipse, which happens on March 29th in Aries. So we're right in the middle of this intense 2-week period where the universe is basically doing spring cleaning on your entire life. It's clearing out what doesn't serve you, exposing what needs to change, and pushing you toward your next level of evolution. And tomorrow, March 14th, we're at the exact midpoint of this eclipse portal. We're halfway between the clearing and the new beginning. We're in the space between what was and what's coming. And that's why the warnings are so loud right now. Because this is your last chance to make conscious choices before the universe makes them for you. This is your opportunity to participate in your own transformation instead of being dragged through it kicking and screaming. Plus, we have Mercury conjunct Neptune tomorrow, which only happens a few times a year. And when it happens in Pisces, the sign that both planets are most comfortable in, the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds becomes almost transparent. You have access to information, to intuition, to divine guidance that you normally can't reach. Your dreams will be more vivid. Your gut feelings will be stronger. The signs and synchronicities will be impossible to miss. This is the universe turning up the volume on its guidance system. And if you're paying attention, if you're actually listening, tomorrow you're going to receive downloads, insights, revelations that could change the entire trajectory of your life. But only if you're open to receiving them. Only if you're willing to hear what you need to hear instead of what you want to hear. So here's what you need to do tomorrow. First, create space for stillness. I know that sounds simple, but most people won't do it. They'll fill their day with distractions, with business, with noise, because they're afraid of what they might hear in the silence. But the warnings, the guidance, the truth, it comes in the quiet moments. So tomorrow, even if it's just for 20 minutes, find a space where you can be alone with your thoughts. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you and your inner voice. Second, pay attention to what comes up. The thoughts that surface, the feelings that arise, the memories that bubble up from nowhere. The sudden urges to reach out to someone or to finally start that project or to make that change you've been avoiding. Don't dismiss these things as random. They're not random. They're the universe speaking to you in the language of intuition. Write them down. Honor them. Take them seriously. Third, be willing to act. This is the part where most people fail. They receive the message. They feel the warning. They know what they need to do. But then they don't do it. They tell themselves they'll think about it. They'll wait until they have more information. They'll start next week, next month, next year. And the moment passes, the window closes, and they're left wondering why nothing ever changes. The universe rewards action. It rewards people who hear the message and immediately take a step, even a small one, in the direction they're being called. So tomorrow, when you receive your warning, when you feel that pull, when you know what needs to change, do something about it. Send the text, make the call, set the boundary, start the project, take the first step, show the universe you're serious. And fourth, trust the timing. I know you've been waiting for the perfect moment. I know you've been telling yourself you need more time, more preparation, more certainty. But tomorrow is the moment. The cosmic alignment is perfect. The support is there. The guidance is clear. And if you keep waiting, you're not waiting for a better time. You're just avoiding the discomfort of change. The universe is handing you everything you need tomorrow. Your job is to reach out and take it. The signs have been everywhere and you've been missing them. Let me tell you something that's going to sound wild, but I need you to hear it. The universe has been preparing you for tomorrow's warnings for weeks, maybe even months. And if you look back at your life recently, you're going to see the pattern. You're going to see how everything has been leading to this moment. Think about the past few weeks. How many times have you seen repeating numbers? How many times has a specific song played at the exact moment you needed to hear it? How many times has someone said something to you that felt like it was meant specifically for your situation, even though they had no idea what you were going through? How many times have you had a dream that felt more real than your waking life? That stayed with you all day, that you couldn't shake? These weren't coincidences. These were breadcrumbs. The universe was trying to prepare you, trying to get your attention, trying to soften the ground before tomorrow's warnings arrived. Because here's what most people don't understand about cosmic warnings. They don't come out of nowhere. They're always preceded by signs, by synchronicities, by gentle nudges that most people ignore because they're too busy, too distracted, too convinced that everything is fine. But you've been feeling it, haven't you? That sense that something is off. That feeling that you're not where you're supposed to be. That nagging voice that keeps asking, is this really it? Is this really what my life is supposed to look like? That's not anxiety. That's not depression. That's not you being ungrateful or realistic. That's your soul trying to get your attention. That's the universe trying to wake you up before it has to shake you awake. And tomorrow, the shaking begins. Not to hurt you, not to punish you, but to wake you up, to snap you out of the trance you've been in, to force you to see what you've been refusing to see, to make you face what you've been avoiding. Because the universe loves you too much to let you sleepwalk through your one precious life. Here's what happens after you receive the warnings. Now let me tell you what happens after tomorrow, because I think this is where it gets really interesting. Let's say you listen. Let's say you actually hear the warnings and you take action. You fix the cracks in your foundation. You set boundaries with the toxic relationships. You finally start pursuing your purpose. What happens next? First, there's going to be resistance, not from the universe, but from your old life. The people who benefited from you staying small are going to push back. The habits that kept you comfortable are going to fight for survival. The fear that's been protecting you from risk is going to scream louder than ever. This is normal. This is expected. This is actually a sign that you're doing the right thing. Because here's what I've learned. The moment you start aligning with your truth, everything that's not aligned with that truth starts falling away. And it's not always gentle. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it feels like your entire life is falling apart. But it's not falling apart. It's falling into place. The universe is just clearing out the old to make room for the new. Second, you're going to doubt yourself. You're going to wake up some morning next week and think, did I make a mistake? Should I have just stayed where I was? Was I being dramatic? Was I overreacting? This is your ego trying to pull you back into the familiar. Don't listen to it. Trust the warnings you received tomorrow. Trust the clarity you felt. Trust that the universe doesn't send warnings for no reason. Third, and this is the beautiful part, things are going to start aligning in ways that feel almost magical. The right people are going to show up at the right time. The resources you need are going to appear. The opportunities you've been waiting for are going to present themselves. Not because you got lucky, but because you finally got out of your own way. You finally stopped blocking your own blessings with your fear, your doubt, your attachment to what's familiar. The universe has been trying to deliver your next level to you for months, but it couldn't get through because you were too busy clinging to your current level. Tomorrow's warnings are the universe's way of saying, let go, trust me, I have something better for you. But you have to release what you're holding onto first. And here's what happens if you don't listen. Let me paint you a different picture. Let's say you receive the warnings tomorrow and you ignore them. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. You convince yourself it's not that serious. You go back to your normal routine, your normal patterns, your normal life. What happens then? At first, nothing. And that's the dangerous part. Because you'll think you got away with it. You'll think the warnings were just in your head. You'll think you made the right choice by staying where you are. But the universe doesn't forget. The warnings don't disappear just because you ignored them. They just get louder. They just get more intense. They just get more disruptive. Maybe in a few weeks, that cracked foundation you ignored finally gives out. Maybe you have a health crisis that forces you to stop. Maybe you lose the job you were killing yourself for. Maybe the relationship you were clinging to implodes in a way that's 10 times more painful than if you had just walked away when you had the chance. Or maybe it's more subtle. Maybe you just keep going. Keep grinding. Keep pretending. Keep telling yourself you're fine. And 5 years from now, you wake up and realize you're exactly where you were 5 years ago. Same problems. Same patterns. Same unfulfilled dreams. Except now you're 5 years older. 5 years more tired. 5 years more disconnected from that voice inside you that used to believe anything was possible. I've seen this happen to so many people. They receive the warnings. They feel the pull. They know what they need to do. But they're too scared. Too comfortable. Too convinced that the timing isn't right. and they spend the rest of their lives wondering what if. What if I had listened? What if I had been brave? What if I had trusted myself? Don't be that person. Don't let fear steal your one chance at the life you're meant to live. Don't let comfort rob you of your purpose. Don't let other people's opinions keep you trapped in a life that was never yours to begin with. The universe is speaking directly to you tomorrow. Here's what I really need you to understand. Tomorrow's warnings aren't for everyone. They're for you. Specifically you. The fact that you're watching this video right now. The fact that you've made it this far. The fact that something inside you resonated with this message. That's not random. That's the universe confirming that yes, this is for you. Yes, you need to hear this. Yes, it's time. You were guided to this information at this exact moment.